Well, welcome students to week 2 of business law. And in this um, section of the business law program, we're going to really get into the different types of corporations there are and why it's important to kind of figure that out, especially as you're entering the workforce or maybe you're trying to start up your own business. And we're going to look at all the advantages and disadvantages of those. So um, here is a quick summary of what to do this week. You're going to watch this video, what you're doing now. There's some reading to do, chapter 43, and then there's an article. You're going to watch private versus public, and then watch legal businesses, type of business organizations as well. There's an assignment. So it's pretty much a lot of watching and reading this week, followed up by a short assignment. It shouldn't take too much time for you, and we'll go over all that here in a few minutes. Okay, so here are a couple important things to read. One of the interesting things is what's the difference between a public and a private entity? And this is a great one to read up on and understand, like how and why public entities operate versus private entity. It really comes down to who they serve, right? So public entity is serving a group of people, and the idea is that their actions are going to be at the best interest of the people that they serve, and they can't do things for personal gain. It's all for the service to the community. It's not always the case, as we know, but it's kind of littered with a lot of political issues. So you can read upon that now. A private administration is, they're in it for their stakeholders and for the business employees and owners that they serve. There are some different varieties of private enterprise, such as a C Corp or even a nonprofit. And nonprofits do act a little bit more like public administration, although they are private and they operate without total scrutiny from the government. But read through these and you'll find some really good ideas, the differences between the two. Okay, so we'll go back out here. This is a real short video, like 2.5 minutes or so. This guy does a great job of explaining the difference between a public entity and or how businesses are held either privately or publicly. So if they're held privately, then they haven't gone to the stock market yet, basically. And once they do, they offer that initial public offering. They become a public business. This kind of talks how a business could start private, go public, or go public and then come back to private. Makes a big difference in how they operate and a lot of the different loopholes, not the loopholes, but a lot of different hurdles that they have to face versus a company that is not held publicly. So with public held businesses, you go into quarterly reports, and oftentimes that can keep a company from looking long term because they're just so focused on having a positive quarterly return. Okay, there's let me see which one I really liked a little bit more. This video here was a great video from a lawyer that talks about just the different business structures. This one here I liked a lot too, and this gets in. Oops, sorry, I was wrong. That was the other video was the one I liked better. But this is the lawyer, okay, and she is really sharp and talks about just 3 of the major different business types. And then this one goes through all of them. So I like this one a lot because it gives you a really good idea. Like if you were to start your business, what structure would you need? Okay. And so this lady goes through like a crash course on all those basics that you might need to get started. Now it's not the end all, and I will say this, like if you decide that, okay, I'm going to start up a business and I'm going to create a limited liability corporation or LLC, you don't try to do that by yourselves. You're going to need some legal help. Now you can get started, and there's a lot of tools and resources out there to get started, but this gives you the basic idea. When you've got it ready, you've got it figured out, you've built up a business plan, then it's time to go to a lawyer and have them help you write up your um, articles of incorporation that you have to file with the state. So make sure you watch this, but it's just the first step if you are interested in building your own business. Or maybe you already have your own business and you're looking, hey, I might want to try to move it to a different type of business to reduce my risk. So here's a great example of that. I'll just touch base on this for a second. So if you have a sole proprietorship, for example, and you are maybe you have your own construction business and you start hiring people, right? And do you need to move to a different business form? Well, when you're a sole proprietor, you can get, I mean, you have to get insurance to kind of limit your liability, but um, your personal assets are part of the business. So let's say you get sued for some reason, and they go after your business money, and that's not enough, so they go after your personal assets, and that's kind of scary a little bit. So you might want to form an LLC to protect your assets, protect your personal assets. You don't want to be personally liable for an employee that you hire that maybe gets in an accident, hurts somebody. So these are things that you have to weigh through pretty heavily, and it's okay to take some time on that. And our school has some great resources for entrepreneurship. Just reach out to me if you want to get a hold of some people that might be able to help you with those initial ideas, right? I have a colleague that's very good at that. I know my way around tax liability and then business formation, and those are some of the things I spent a lot of time on in the past. I own my own business. We are an LLC. We're a domestic LLC, and then that helps to protect our rights. I'm sorry, our assets at home. So, yeah, I've also actually, let's see, I've written up 2 or 3 articles of incorporation and filed tax status for a 501c3, which is a nonprofit corporation. So a 501c3 and a 501c6, both nonprofits, but one's are taxed and one aren't. It's complicated, but that's why you need help with these sort of things, right? So you're going to go through, you're going to learn about all these different types of corporations, and then you've got this little template to fill out. You can just fill this out and submit the template, please. When you do submit it, click view and download. Okay, so I can just view it right here and I don't have to download it every time. But then you're going to give a definition of all of these and an example of what those are. They're each worth 4 points. And if you have any questions about this week, please let me know. I hope you have a great week. This is a good way to get started by understanding how to form a business and what your business status should be. Okay, take care.